Hi, I'm Chris with Sanderson Test Prep, and welcome to this LSAT video on sequencing games, and specifically using the notation of ellipses when defining which entity is going before or after another. So I know that a lot of test takers are used to using greater than or less than signs for these relationships, and I want to show an alternative to that and something that I think makes it a little bit more straightforward and actually aligns the order of the entities from left to right a little bit more closely to the way that you'll see them aligned in the games. So let's take a look at an example. So here's an overview of a sequencing game. 6 students, Adam, Brett, Chris, Dave, Eric, and Frank, are auditioning for a play. Each student auditions exactly once, and audition numbers are assigned 1 through 6, with 6 being the last audition to take place. And so here we have 2 sample rules. Adam auditions before Brett, and Dave's audition number is greater than Adam's. And I want to take a look at these 2 rules depicted with greater than or less than signs and with ellipses. And let's take a look at why one might be preferable in a particular situation. So here, Adam auditions before Brett. So a lot of us would map this out as A is less than B. If you were to use our 3 dots here, 3 magic dots, the dot, dot, dot would indicate that Adam is before Brett with an unknown number of entities in between. So both of these depictions are pretty clear. They're ordered left to right. And if you're picturing an overview of a sketch for this with 6 spaces, and I'll make this a little smaller and just put that above the game. But if you had these 6 spaces numbered 1 through 6, as many of us would in order to set this up, then both of these work in terms of that left to right delineation of the sequence of entities in the game. But let's take a look at this second rule, and let's see how a greater than or less than sign could potentially be a little bit confusing depending the order in which we write them. So Dave's audition number is greater than Adam's. A lot of us would depict this as D is greater than A, which is correct. That's true based on the rule. However, if we look at that left to right alignment, it allows us to potentially introduce a mistaken interpretation of the rule because we have entity D to the left of A, which in our master sketch up here, that would suggest that D is actually going to be of a lower number than A if you look at it in order from left to right. And so our mind is flipping around the way that the rule is naturally stated in order to correctly interpret it, which can be very challenging in terms of being able to correctly order the entities, especially as we get away from the initial game setup and get deeper into the questions. So if we take this same relationship of entities, using that dot, dot, dot symbol, if you tried to put D dot, dot, dot A, that means that D occurs at a lower number than A or before A, and that would be incorrect. So the ellipses basically make it impossible for us to misalign the way that those entities should be related to each other. And here the correct interpretation of that, the only correct interpretation using the ellipses would be to say that A is before D with some unknown number of entities in between. So even if it takes a little bit of getting used to, and if it's not the notation that you're used to using on sequencing games, if you practice it, you can get comfortable with it, and I promise you that using the ellipsis notation is actually going to make it a little bit easier for you to keep those entities straight. For more, please tune in to our other videos, and thanks for watching.